Sibingelele masadla mahle phela sinemukele ehlelweni lethu i-Business Forum. Igama lami ngikhanyisile Mabuza. Kanti-ke lolu hlelo lasibuka khona indaba temabhizinisi, tetemafa, temnotfo ngokwehlukahlukana ezweni laKaNgwane. Lomuhla-ke sitawuvakashela tindzawo letinyenti njengoba sitacala lapha Hilton Garden Inn, lapho-ke khona Ndunankulu welive umhlonishwa Sipho Dlamini beyakade yahlanganyele nebaka-World Bank bete kutosipha-ke i-economic update, losho ukuthi batosichazela njengesimo semnotfo yelive laKaNgwane kanye nasemhlabeni wonke ngekubuka kwabo-ke bona baka-World Bank. Angikanzi kakhulu asivele singene kuwo umsebenzi.
Terminate with the Right Honourable Prime Minister officially launched for the King of Eswatini for the period 28 financial years. Third, in introducing new modalities and mechanisms. Hlaba kuthuthukisa live leMaswati kule minyaka lebaliwe. Kusibamisa tinhlangothi letehlukene. Lolu sito lubuketa inhlangothi letindzatfu. Kudlondlobalisa umnotho. Kuthuthukisa timpilo tebantu kule live nekucedza buphuya nebumbofu. Kanye nekuvikela konakala nekuhlukubeteka kwemvelo. Egameni lahulumende weMbube sithatha leli thuba kubonga umqondisi welibhange lemhlaba kulamave lasihlanu lasabaliwe Make Mary Francoise Marinelli kanye nalo engamele emave ase-Afrika khona ebhange lemhlaba Make Victoria Kwakwa nemabandla onke labasebenta nawo kuti khandla emsebentini wabo wekubambisa live laKaNgwane.
To do is presenting briefly the CPF, because I think that the video has already done a good job of establishing what we are talking about. It has been really a good partnership. But before I do that, diversification, and more importantly, how agile we are in implementing our program. And I'm pleased to say that this is actually what this company partnership framework is all about. So moving very quickly in essentially two elements here is to remind you of the context of the preparation of the CPF. Essentially, as was said in the video, the CPF is a document that frames the engagement that we will have with the Kingdom for the next 5 years, our fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 28. And it is very much conceived in taking into account three elements. The development priorities of the country, and I think that you see on the right side of the screen the NDP. I'm not going to repeat the 6 objectives, I think that they are well known, but you will see when I present the framework what are the elements that we have taken into account. And we also look at the constraints to development, and more importantly, the constraint to achieving reduction of extreme poverty and boosting shared prosperity, as Minister of Planning had mentioned, and we did that through a systematic country diagnostic and a private sector diagnostic, and reinforcing the challenges of the macro management, the need to diversify the economy, to strengthen the human capital, and also to improve resilience. So all this again is quite consistent with the priority of the government. And finally, the World Bank comparative advantage. I don't know if I know how to do the pointer. Oh, I think that I will refrain from doing that. But in the cycle, you see on the right the World Bank comparative advantage. And I would say that there are two main advantages for the World Bank Group. The first, of course, is the financing that everybody is aware it's talking about. But more importantly, I think that what we are bringing is the knowledge and the facility, the capacity to connect a country to what is done best in the world. And just to cite 2 recent examples, during the spring meeting.
Fantastically. They do whatever they do in the country, they do a real deep dive into it.
World Bank Country Director for Eswatini, leaders of different World Bank forums, senior country officer, International Finance Corporation, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to join you on behalf of His Majesty's government at this launch event for the World Bank Group Eswatini Country Partnership Framework, covering the fiscal year 2024 to 2028. This strategic framework holds great significance for Eswatini given the array of challenges, long-standing economic difficulties, including sluggish economic growth, fiscal crises, high youth unemployment, pervasive poverty and inequality, and inadequate private sector investment. Regrettably, unforeseen events such as natural disasters, COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, followed by political unrest in June 2021, and more recently the war in Ukraine, have compounded the existing economic and social challenges confronting our nation. In response to these formidable challenges, we released a new national fire to take as a country. In its focus on supporting our country's transition from a public sector-driven growth model to private sector-led approach, emphasizing inclusive, sustainable, and resilient economic growth, quite seamless. I particularly appreciate the focus on addressing the challenges of lagging regions in the Lubombo and Shiselweni, addressing issues such as provision of basic services such as water and electricity. Having been an early adopter of the World Bank Human Capital Project in 2019, His Majesty's government remains committed to investing in the health, education and skills of our people as drivers of long-term economic growth and poverty reduction. In fact, in just 2 weeks, we will be in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, with the World Bank and other African countries, reflecting on our commitment to the human capital agenda in Africa and how we can advance this agenda. I would also like to commend the World Bank and the country director for their decision in 2018 to establish a dedicated country office here in Baban, as opposed to the previous arrangement where engagement with the country was conducted from Pretoria. I can personally attest to the intensification of our engagement during this period, and the bank has further reinforced our perception of it as a valued partner and advisor to the government. Furthermore, I would like to express my deep appreciation to the bank for its demonstrating commitment to our country, even during challenging times. I am aware that the civil unrest presented difficulties for some international partners in their engagement with the country. Despite such uncertainties, the bank remained committed to continued engagement, allowing us to secure the much-needed budget. In times of adversity, true friends are few, and the World Bank has demonstrated itself to be a genuine friend and partner to the people of Eswatini. Through our collaborative efforts, we can build a more prosperous and inclusive Eswatini for all Emaswati, focusing particularly on the empowering women and the youth. With these remarks, I would like to take this opportunity to officially launch the World Bank Group Eswatini Country Partnership Framework for the fiscal year 2024 to 2028. Thank you and may God bless you.
Kanti ke nyalo sitawuqhubekela lapha ehofisini letiko letemafa lapho khona indvuna yetiko letemafa Umhlonishwa no-Rickenberg bekakaze amemetela liyona-ke i-council yaka-Center for Financial Inclusion lentsha uchazele nokuthi yini i-Center for Financial Inclusion imcoka ngani yevele kangwane kanti-ke lesingakusho ukuthi isihlalo wayo lokusha ngumphathi wesinyathelo Mosoveko Excellence Fund umnumzane David Miyeni asingene kuwo umsebenzi.
Established a microfinance unit to implement the Rural Finance and Enterprise Development Program, which was funded by the International Fund for Agriculture Development, we refer to as IFAD. When the implementation of the program came to an end, Cabinet approved the transforming of the FMU to the Centre of Financial Inclusion as a way of continuing with the implementation of the financial inclusion agenda. The core mandate of the Centre is to coordinate and monitor the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, NFIS, for the Kingdom of Eswatini, which was launched in 2017. The NFIS indicates that a Financial Inclusion Coordination Council will be established to provide strategic guidance to the CFI on the implementation of the strategy. It is with this background that today we introduce the CFI Council. The functions of the Council are to provide oversight and support on the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, is to play a supervisory role on the Financial Inclusion and Cluster Development Project and the development of financial inclusion policy. It's to act as an advisory body to the CEO on the appropriate strategic objectives, is to approve any major adjustments to the level or structure of staff salaries and wages or other terms and conditions of service of its staff. It's to conduct quarterly meetings to monitor management in the implementation plans and strategies as approved by Council. It's to ensure that the Centre complies with all relevant laws, regulations and codes of business practice that will ensure that effective unit, risk management and compliance systems are in place. It's also to review policies, processes and procedures regularly to ensure effectiveness and internal system controls. It's also to ensure that the Centre communicates with other stakeholders in an open and prompt manner. It's to make recommendations on how government can have more influence and deliver better on the financial inclusion mandate. It's also to report quarterly on the findings to the Minister of Finance from the commencement of the appointment of the Council. Right, to emphasize the immediate role is to make sure that the following is in place: the CFI Charter, CFI's corporate strategy, CFI's work plan, review of internal policies, review of the financial statements, close monitoring of the FinClude project, development of the financial inclusion policy, which will cover the CFI being established by law, and any other matter that will need urgent attention. But the bottom line is, and as it really, the Council, we believe, is very well put together. Each member is specifically selected to be able to make sure we need to be able to get not only financial inclusion of our nation, but really is try and develop business at grassroots level. And it's to be able to take business into rural areas, take business to where we have land available, try and get land more productive, get that productiveness on the land to help people commercially, to be able to not only open accounts and become and have access to finance, but really also start and get businesses going. So that's why FinClude was a very good leg to be able to work with, as FinClude really not only looks at trying to get someone onto a monetary platform from cash, but very much also generating that income at grassroots level. So if the team really can remain focused on that and try and drive that agenda, I really believe it's very well structured, and we have really the right brains and skill sets around in the Council to be able to assist with that. And it doesn't obviously end what you can do. A large part of it will be briefing government, briefing Minister of Finance, letting us know it's the right government. If one looks at A, B, C, D, we can really unlock a whole lot more potential out there in Eswatini. It's about finding where we have the potential and unlocking that potential. Is really where we believe that that the low-hanging fruit are in our economy. So thank you very much.
Made a big error before continue to introduce the sample.
including the things that can be achieved. So in that way, we are starting from a position whereby we're quite clear on what has to be achieved. And we can also assure you, Minister, that we're quite aware that financial inclusion has a huge role to ensure that we integrate all the activities and functions to say when it speaks to the underprivileged, how that can then emerge to ensure that people not only have access to financial services, but are empowered to have those services to transform their lives. That is why we really appreciate the sentiments to say as the task, how do we ensure that we go beyond access, but ensure that the interventions that are provided through CFI are able to translate into improved lives for the people. We acknowledge, Minister, that from the team we have all the experiences from the various areas and facets that are necessary to ensure that as the Council we are able to drive this agenda. So we really appreciate the quality and also the diversity that is within the Council. We can assure you that we will be putting all our best to ensure that we deliver, and also at the same time we come up with an agenda that will help government to say how do we integrate and ensure that everybody is able to participate within the economic development space within the country. So with those remarks, Minister, we just want to say thank you.
And that doesn't change the mandate at all. I think with that possible kind of continue that function through that. In fact, we only see the benefits, and we believe it will strongly.
Inhlangano yakamhlabuhlangene ibonge kakhulu eveni laseSwatini ngokuthi live likwade ukuyibambisa inhlangano yakamhlabuhlangene ye-United Nations ekuthenini kubanjwe lobekade liyabaleka asikhoseli kuleli Fulgence Shayema loqhamuka lapha eveni laseRwanda bavetile ukuthi lowekunene beyakade silokabaleka sekuphele iminyaka lengemashumi amathathu.
It's really a tribute to you, your government, and your people that you have provided safety and safe haven to refugees. And it's again to your tribute that when we came to you and asked you for your assistance, you provided it so openly and transparently and welcomely. So again, thank you very much. We're very happy to answer any questions, discuss any matters in more detail, but we really very much wanted to say thank you and to inform you that the world is aware of your contributions. The people and government of Rwanda are aware of your contributions, and the victims and survivors are aware of your contributions, and they're all so deeply grateful.
And specifically coming to Eswatini to give us a report. When I met Mr. Brown and the team, and they explained the process and what they've come to do and requesting for our support. We are glad that at least now there's closure, especially for the victims. We are happy that the matter has finally come to an end with the arrest of the fugitive. And we also appreciate the learning for our team as they were working with your office, the transfer of skills and also being exposed to how these processes work. So we also appreciate that you've taken the time and come all the way to give us a report so that at least they can see the fruits of the work and the engagement that has taken place in the last couple of months. Thank you very much. I was able to help in this manner. when we think of our country, we think of our innocent country. We don't imagine serious international criminals that they can roam around in our land. It's really serious, but we are glad that we're of help, that they were caught, and I'm shocked that they came as refugees. And we just took them with open hands without knowing that these people are criminals. But we thank God that they were finally caught and were of help as a Eswatini. We are happy and everyone is happy. Thank you.
Did our methodology. One of the big things was that we recognized that we couldn't survive and be successful without partnerships. And we set up a number of task teams in a number of different countries, and each one has responded in slightly different ways depending on some other issues. I think Eswatini, in our view, has been the most supportive from day one. With other task teams, there's always been a period of some kind of trust building, relationship building. Maybe there are other political issues that have to be overcome which are outside our domain. But in our experience, Eswatini has been the most friendly, the most trusting, and the most engaged from day one. Even though it's maybe not been the largest one, it has been the most supportive from the very first day we've worked here. And one of the other issues as well is that it's given us an understanding of difficulties that countries and the kingdom faces with its immigration issues, and how trust can be broken by people like Kaishima. We very much want to, as well, keep a momentum going, keep some relationship going, where there are questions or issues that you would like additional support on or training, because we've learned a lot. It's not just us coming and asking for things. We've learned an awful lot as well. We've proved the methodology of building partnerships from the start, building task teams from the start, trusting and being open with partners to say, this is what we require, because we're all looking for the same end. This is a man who didn't deserve to walk your streets or any country's streets. So one of the things we're looking at now very much, and Kevin will probably be talking with the task team this afternoon, is how we can keep this partnership going, how we can develop any relationship further. That if you do have requests, if you do have additional individuals that you get requests from in other countries, that we can also assist you in that, or even the methodology of how we do our work to support you, because we want to try and give back something as well to Eswatini for the fantastic cooperation that's been so successful.
For our teams as well to have that framework for tracking fugitives, and also for being able to identify, even from an immigration perspective, having those frameworks that will ensure that we don't have fugitives coming into the country, and as well where Eswatini maybe has a fugitive in other countries that has committed crimes. And as you know, we do face difficulties when it comes to tracking those fugitives or engaging with other governments to bring those fugitives to Eswatini to face their crimes. So indeed, we would appreciate any assistance that we can get from your office to equip our team and to build that, whether legislative framework or policy framework, to assist us. And I think if our team is equipped, even if we have a similar incident in the future, we'll be in a better position to act or react as speedily as possible, because time is of essence. If someone can stay for 30 years changing personalities, we need to be up to date. All the countries need to be up to date. And I'm sure when fugitive looks at countries, they may identify countries where they feel maybe it will be safer or it will be easier for me to come to Eswatini or come to a particular country. So indeed, training our officials to be able to deal with fugitives, whether it's Eswatini fugitives or fugitives from other countries, we would appreciate that continued collaboration and training for our personnel. So
for the refugees, we have the status determination team.
They're the ones who determine if this person is really a refugee. But then you can find that you have expertise that you can give them, for them to have that other eye that can see that this person, something is wrong. Something is wrong. So that training would be very helpful for us. Even the
make sure that we collaborate. We will collaborate not only with you, but with other police services in the region, share information. This one was a success. We thank God very much for that. We'll be interested to know his final fate. What will happen to him? Please do give us that information. Thank you.
Sihlangene lapha emahhovisi aka Ndvunankhulu. Sihlangene nelihhovisi lemshushisi lomkhulu lobuya kaMhlabuhlangene. Labe kunene bebede even la kaNgwane bede kutobonga uhulumende waKaNgwane ukuthi hlangothini labo la ka fugitive tracking lapho khona ba tracker ema fugitives international fugitives kukhona lena lo wa banemacala latsite even lase Rwanda ngesikhathi se genocide shokuthi ke after iminyaka lengo 30 ugcina abanjiwe lo wekunene batobonga ke inzima ledlalwe live la kaNgwane kude kufike lapho khona lo wekunene abanjwa shokuthiwa ke wahlala lapha kaNgwane wefika kungathi uyi-refugee bebasolo ke basebenta nemaphoyisa nelihhovisi la DPP nawo lamanye ama-officials ku-tracker le fugitive lo mshushisi ke lomkhulu wakaMhlabuhlangene ke ude nelibandla lakhe sebeda ke batobonga even la kaNgwane ukuthi bathola usito lolukhulu lo lwagcina kubangile usito leli baphumelelisa ukuthi lo wekunene aboshwe bebatobika ke ukuthi sebabuya khona eRwanda bahlangene nalemindeni nema victims nawo lemindeni nayo ithethe ababendlulisele kubonga la kaNgwane ukuthi after iminyaka lengamashumi amathathu sebagcine nabo sebathola iclosure imindeni ukuthi lo wekunene ugcine sekabanjiwe. Lokunye ke lesikhulumile ukuthi sitawuchubeka sisebenzisane nalo lelihhovisi lithideke litawusisita nathi sibivela kaNgwane ukuthi litraine ema-officials ethu nekuthi nathi sinawo ema-fugitives lakhona la kulamanye emave lesifise ukuthi basisite ku-developa lawo ma-frameworks nekubuka letindlela tekuthi lawo ma-fugitives la kulamanye emave lebende bucala site kaNgwane babese babalekele emaveni langaphandle labo bantu labo babuyiswa njani ekhaya bathiteke cha nabo njengoba live la kaNgwane libasitile nabo ke batawusisita ukuthi sigcine nathi lawo ma-fugitives abuyile kaNgwane atofesa lawo macala lawenda ne-training ke nakhona lapho bathinte batasisita ku-trainer ema-officials ethu ku-tracker ema-international fugitives.
Kakhulu masodla amahle kuhlanganyela nathi ihlelo le-Free Business Forum ngethemba ukuthi ubusuku benu lawa ngilokhu kuhle libe neliviki lemihle nalegcwele tikusizo ngizalana kahle.